Audleyites, it's been a while since I've recorded a video. I'm finally back. I have a lot less work to do for the moment, so I'll be able to get more into the content grind. Today I'm going to be talking about a subject that is pretty common across all of competitive gaming, all of esports. It's a word you see pop up, a word you'll hear used to describe what's going through a player's mind, and it's usually when a team is not doing well, and that word is tilt. It's a word you've probably heard in the context of Halo, in the context of League of Legends, Hearthstone, poker. Poker's where the word comes from. If you're wondering what tilt is, it first started getting used in the context of high-level poker, when a player would suddenly get frustrated and they'd make less smart plays. They'd go over-aggressive with their bluffs or their all-ins, trying to make up for what they've lost. Like maybe they didn't get the card they wanted on the river in Texas Hold'em, and so they're like, I thought I could win, but I didn't. And so they just go into a downward spiral of worse and worse decision making to try to make up for what they lost over what may or may not have been just bad luck in the game. Even further back, the word tilt comes from pinball, where the ball would be going down through the paddles and you'd shake the machine to try to get it to hit the paddle instead. Of course, some pinball machines ended up having that locking mechanism where the paddles wouldn't go, and you'd see tilt in those dot matrix lights on the screen, and all of a sudden you lose the round because you got frustrated and you shook the machine to try to make it work. And sometimes you'll actually lose 2 rounds in a row because of the tilting. It'll keep it locked for a while. The big question that's probably running through most people's minds when it comes to the subject of tilt is what causes tilt? And generally, the biggest cause of tilt is when you lose or you die when you think you should have won. Losing doesn't necessarily mean a game. It could mean an engagement, it could mean an objective, anything of that sort. If you lose it when you thought you should have won it, you thought you should have stopped that flag short, you thought you should have captured that territory or killed the guy right before he capped it, and it doesn't go that way, anything of that sort can start the motion for a tilt. In the context of team games, you may have won, you may have had the best performance on your team, and your other 3 teammates or 4 teammates, depending on what game you're playing, could be Counter-Strike, could be League of Legends, and your other teammates just didn't keep up to your pace, and so you're like, I can't carry these guys, and that mentality right there, I can't carry these guys, or I was carrying and we didn't win, that mentality is a instant tilting mentality, because you should always be focused on the team and winning, not your individual performance, because if you don't win when you think you're performing well, that's going to send you toward tilt. Other tilt triggers could be much smaller scale. You could have died when you thought you had the battle won. Maybe your opponent outplayed you and you weren't expecting it. Maybe he thrusted really well in Halo, or maybe it was just a really well-aimed skill shot and you just get stun-locked for so long, or maybe you miss a cannon minion in League of Legends and you just start getting down on yourself, and then you miss 3 more minions that you had no business missing. Tilt can just be so many small triggers. And another thing that can cause tilt is your teammates. I know I mentioned tilting because you lose, even if you played well, but you can also tilt or cause your teammates to tilt by already being tilted. Say for instance, one of your teammates starts to tilt and they're just talking in this down monotone voice. Vocal tone is a huge tilting trigger, and vocabulary is also a way of tilting. Whenever you use words that make it seem like you're blaming your teammates for poor performance, why did you do this? Anytime you ask a teammate why, you are leading them to tilt land. You have given them the bus stop to tilt land, and you've given them the ticket and you've shoved them through the door of the bus just by using 3 letters, WHY, why. Don't ask why. And after a game, it's fine. You can talk about where things went wrong to try to improve, to try to keep it from happening. But if you're in a game, don't ever ask a teammate, why did you do that? Because that is a tilt trigger for almost any player, unless they are just mental fortitude of a moai head, then pretty much you're going to cause somebody to tilt by doing that. So you have to remember, vocal tone and vocabulary are very important for preventing tilt. They're also a major cause of tilt. So now that we've identified the causes, what is the cure to tilt? Unfortunately, there is no cure for tilt. There's no Sarah McLachlan in the arms of an angel, pay 22 cents a day to sponsor a child to prevent him from tilting. There's no magical pill, not even sold by Lewis, to prevent tilting. There isn't a way to just magically right your brain when your composure starts to go off. Like, if you're playing at home, you at least have the option to turn off whatever it was you were playing, step away, go do something else, go eat, go watch Netflix and chill. Just do something to take your mind off the game, take a break, and then come back to it. But if you're in a tournament setting and you've started to tilt, there really isn't anything you can do other than grit your teeth, bear through whatever series you're in, and hope you don't have to play or back to back to back right after that. Because really, there isn't any way to stop tilting. And if you're a coach at a game and you recognize that one of your players or some of your players or all of your players are tilting, one thing you should never do is say, "Hey guys, stop tilting." Because all that does is say, "Hey, you guys sound like you're down and out. You sound like you're in a bad mood." And then it gets them to kind of dwell on the fact that they're down and out at that point, instead of getting them to focus on positive aspects and how to improve, how to play, how to win. Like, you have to phrase whatever you're saying in a way that gets them more motivated or happy. Like, you can't really cure tilt. You can kind of treat the symptoms to try to get them back in a good mood. If you have a player that likes to cheer up by making funny voices, encourage them to make a funny voice. Have nothing to do with the game. I've seen players who, when they start to get tilted and they finally win a game while they're tilted, their response, in order to hype themselves back up and to try to recover, get back on the more level end of the spectrum, is to say, "These guys suck! They could never win us! They could never beat us!" Like, just anything along those lines. Something that gets you hyped back up is a great way to kind of cover up the symptoms. You have to replace the negative energy with a ton of positive energy, a ton of just excitement and hype. And adrenaline can usually help you power through it if you get into a situation. But even then, it's not easy to just magically summon up a ton of hype or adrenaline. You have to make a big play in order to make that happen. So that's not a reliable way to deal with the symptoms. So the best question to ask, instead of how do you cure it, is how do you prevent tilt? And the number one thing you do is eliminate external factors that can contribute to mental instability. And I don't mean like, don't be a crazy person. I mean like lack of sleep or too much sleep. Alcohol or any kind of drugs can affect your mental stability. Stress, whether it's stress caused by a girlfriend, a friend, work, lack of money, any kind of stress will help you lead to tilting more easily. If you are a stressed out person, you probably shouldn't play video games that much if you want to win a lot. Like, you're probably a huge tilt risk toward yourself, and you'll probably find yourself raging more often than you should. One thing that I personally finds helps me, I can't say it's perfectly scientifically backed, although there is some like clinical evidence. B vitamins are a great thing that helped me. Like, I had noticed a long time ago, I used to have a huge problem with rage in video games. Back in the Nintendo 64 and GameCube days and PlayStation, I broke so many controllers by games not doing what I swore I told them to do. I would just and throw my controller or bang it on a desk or throw something across the room. But I noticed eventually, after I started fixing my diet to where I had more B vitamins in it, and I even started taking some multivitamin supplements and stuff, it helped a lot with the anger and frustration. So that element of my tilting went away. So I don't get as angry as much when I've kept my diet balanced. So that's one thing that you can actually do if you don't already to help. Another way to prevent tilting after you've eliminated those external factors like diet, sleep, alcohol, stress, all those stuff. Be self-aware. Know what your tilt triggers are. Know what your weaknesses as a player are. Like anytime you've set yourself up for something that you know can tilt you, just don't let it get to you. Like, shrug it off. It's just a game after all. Just play through it. Keep going forward. Always look forward. Don't dwell on the past ever. Surround yourself with teammates that don't aggravate your triggers. Like, if you are a player who tilts when you're called out for making a mistake, don't put yourself on a team with a player whose first instinct after a game is to be like, hey, you specifically, you, why did you make this play that you made? You lost us this game. That's a great way to send yourself tilted for a long series and to just not have fun playing a video game at all. Don't play with players. If you tend to tilt when you hear a down player, don't tilt with somebody who gets frustrated a lot. Don't tilt with angry people. Just don't play with angry people. They will tilt you. That's what I meant to say. And just keep yourself around positive, upbeat players. People who don't seem to get bothered when they're called out on anything. People who, if you've seen them teabagged or talked trash to, they don't respond by getting angry or frustrated or crying about it. People who are just like, oh, whatever, yeah, man. Or they come back with a witty response of their own. Just people that don't let things get to them are great ways to avoid tilting. And two other important things to prevent tilt. One, be able to admit when you made a mistake. If you can admit when you make a mistake, you've gotten rid of a large part of one of the things that causes tilting. Like, you made a play that you thought would work and it didn't. If you can identify, oh, I actually made a mistake there. It wasn't that the game screwed me over or my teammate didn't carry his weight. It was that I messed up. Then you won't actually get down on yourself because you'll be like, I won't do that next time, or I'll do better next time. Two, be able to admit when you were outplayed. And just like being able to admit when you make a mistake, being able to admit when someone else did something better than you is something not a lot of players can do. Some people have no humility at all. Some people are really prideful, and the only reason they could ever die is because of bullshit. And that's not true. Sometimes you do get outplayed. Sometimes people do something you don't expect. Sometimes you were a little bit slow on the trigger. Sometimes somebody just did something absolutely perfectly. And if you can admit that someone else did something perfectly, that they made the right play, not only are you in a great place for improving as a player, but you're also in a great place for being able to have a stable mindset, because you won't feel like the game is cheating you when you get outplayed. You'll just be like, oh, I need to do what he just did, or I need to be aware that that is a capability that can happen in a game, even if I can't do that. Like, if I see somebody land back-to-back-to-back sniper headshots, it's not because the game is too easy, it's because he's really good with the sniper. And that's just something you have to be aware of. And the next question I have, some people may be wondering, is tilt really real? Like, maybe people just aren't as good as they think they are. Tilt really is real. And I'm going to reference this game designer David Sirlin, I actually don't know how to pronounce his name. He used to work on Street Fighter games. He used to be a high-level Street Fighter player. And he made this series of blogs where he was talking about balancing multiplayer games. And the fourth one he talked about is intuition. And you're probably like, are you getting completely off track? Are you going on a tangent, Audley? And I am kind of going off on a tangent here, but it is going to tie back into why I think tilt really is a real thing that exists. And maybe you've heard in sports the phrase, well, he's just thinking, he's not reacting. And if you've ever heard that phrase, that is an example of why I believe tilt exists. Because when you start tilting, your mind is thinking a lot. And our brains don't have like an unlimited amount of bandwidth. We have, just like computers have a limited amount of memory and processing power that they have, our brains do too. And if your brain is thinking constantly, even if it's not relevant thoughts at all, If you're thinking about the game you're playing, you're limiting the amount of information you can process in that game. And every player has what David Sirlin called a mental iceberg. You have all of this stuff above the water, and if you know an iceberg, usually the stuff above the water is just a tiny, tiny piece of what's actually there. Below the water, there's this huge chunk of ice that you could never imagine how big it actually is. And there's just a tip above the water. And when you're thinking, you can only access that tip. You get just the tip. And when you've got just that tip of information, you don't have a lot of good plays that you could be making. But when you focus on just reacting, you just get in your zone, you get in a happy place where you're not actively thinking about the game you're playing and try to like constantly figure out, oh, why is this the best play? What is this? I should just do this. I should. When you're not in that mindset and you're just letting the game play based off your intuition, based off your normal reactions, you have this huge expanse of just experience and knowledge that you can't actively think about. Like if I asked you, who sings this song on the radio right now, and like you know the song, you've heard the song a million times, you're like, if you hadn't asked me, I would have known it. And that's the exact thing I'm talking about here with the mental iceberg. Like, you know the answer to the question, but when I ask you to think of the answer to the question, it's gone. It's out of your brain. And when you're tilted, you're trying to think of how to play the game because you think that your way of playing is right, it's just not working, so you need to think and focus on it more and it'll work right. But that's actually the exact opposite. You need to stop thinking about the game. You need to just rely on all your experience, your situational awareness. It's this massive, massive subconscious knowledge, and you need to just react off of that and play off of that. And once you do that, you'll find that tilt is not as bad of a problem. But you'll also start to notice, oh yeah, when I was trying to think about my plays, I was playing a lot worse. And now that I've played a ton and I just don't think about it at all when I play, like a lot of times if you watch a pro player streaming and they're just interacting with their chat and half-assing it, they're just having a fun time in Warzone or whatever, they start making shots you'd never see them make in Halo, and it's because they're just reacting off their like natural motor instincts or motor skills. I got tongue twisted a little bit there, but they're making plays that they wouldn't be able to make if they were actually as focused as they wanted to be. That's going to be all about tilt. I've talked to a good bit of time about the subject of tilt. If you're a tilter, hopefully this video helped you. Hopefully it gets you more on the track to being a player that you can play more stably. Be like Lethal, the untiltable. He tilts too. He won't admit it, but he tilts. But he's a person who's just easygoing, no cares at all, and that's really what it takes to not be affected by your emotions as much in game. You just can't let anything get to you. But hopefully this video helped you move toward that kind of player if you are, or moved away from being a tilting kind of player if you are a tilter, and moved toward a more stubborn, unmoving type of player if you are. It's going to be all I'm talking about tilting. I am going to take this opportunity to plug my stream, twitch.tv/TiberiusAudley. If you've missed the Audley Analyzes videos, like maybe you're like, why doesn't Audley make these anymore? A lot of times it's because when I am watching pro scrims these days, I'm doing it on my stream. I have decent internet now. I have a Twitch partnership, so I tend to focus more on my streaming than my YouTube channel. So definitely check out my stream. I've also started a promotion for any subscribers of my Twitch channel. If you want a video made for your gameplay, like my Audley Analyzes, I'll upload it as unlisted, which I've done for quite a few other people already, to give you personal lessons and personal coaching. I will absolutely do that for anyone who subscribes to my channel. If you want personal coaching and you don't want to subscribe, I also will work things out regarding donations. But anyone who wants personal coaching, I am absolutely open to making videos for you and they don't have to be uploaded publicly if you don't want your gameplay shown across the world. If you do want your gameplay shown, like maybe you're an amateur player that wants to get noticed, I will absolutely post it publicly if you want me to. But all you have to do is subscribe to my Twitch TV channel, Tiberius Audley, Tiberiusaudley, and just sub, donate, whatever. We'll talk about it. If you tune into my stream sometime, I stream almost 3 or 4 nights a week, whenever I can, really, whenever I feel like it. Well, that's going to be all for this video. Thank you guys for watching, and until next time, aloha!